Welcome back to another AR120 session. Today we are going to be going over adding some additional tile maps and collision to those tile maps, some physics to a game object in the 2D realm here, and then we'll adjust the camera so that it follows the player. And then I'll explain a little bit about prefabs. So let's begin here. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to go and open my tile palette again. So I'll click Window, go down to 2D, and then Tile Palette. And I will drag this kind of dock it to the side here. And I can make my inspector a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to adjust all my windows. And I am going to add a little bit more kind of area here, and I'm in my game view, so I can't. You'll see I'm like kind of was trying to paint here, but I can't because I need to be in scene view. So um, click that here, and I will highlight what I want to use here, and then I will, with the brush, kind of start drawing it here. And I think I'll just use these so that the environment is a little bit more filled. Nothing too crazy. Okay. Something like that. And I'm going to now put some trees in here. So you'll see, what you'll kind of notice is when I put the tree in here, it um, doesn't put it on top of the tile map below the ground tile map. It basically is kind of its own piece there, and you can see that by at the bottom how it's just showing the background essentially of the tile map. So in order to fix that, what you'll need to go ahead and do is create a second tile map. So we'll go to the grid, and we will right click and select it and go down to 2D object and then tile map, and then create a second rectangular tile map, and we will call this tree. And now we'll go ahead and in the tree tile map, I want this to be drawn above everything else. So I'm going to set this as 2 in the ordering layer. Remember, player is 1 and the tile map is 0. So this tree being on 2, as you can see, we'll put it above the tile map, so it'll look pretty good, and it will um, it being in the second layer, it will be basically the topmost layer at the moment, and so it will be above the player. So when we do add some collision to it, the player won't be able to walk through it. So I'll go ahead and start doing that now. I will add these trees. So let me go ahead, and I'm almost done here. And so I'm just kind of selecting all the pieces from the tile palette here. Okay, there you go. So I've kind of have this tree here now. And what we can go ahead and do is literally just click on the tree, and we can add more components here. And so we will go ahead and add a composite collider, or excuse me, not composite collider, a tile map collider 2D. And so when we add that, it creates this green kind of outline on the object in our scene view. And that means that it has what's called a collider. And a collider is what controls collision in Unity. So the player currently does not have his own collider, so he should still be able to walk through the trees. However, if I go ahead and give him a box collider 2D, like so, um, and I play this, you'll see that I can't walk through the trees anymore. So it respects the collider that is on the player and on itself as well. And again, these colliders prevent um, you from essentially just block the player from accessing them. And so we can also edit the collider if you click this little edit collider button. I'm going to make his collider just a little bit smaller and more around him here, like so. And I'll go ahead and save everything. And we'll go ahead. And now I want to show you colliders on an object, setting something like that up to where you could have objects that you can actually move in the 2D space. So we'll go ahead and we will go back into the tiny RPG folder and then actually at the um, not in the scenes, excuse me. You open up the artwork and then it's under miscellaneous. So click miscellaneous here. And there are a few things here. Okay, so now let's add that object. So if we go into the tiny RPG forest and then artwork and environments, in here you'll see a whole bunch of sliced objects. So if we click into this folder here, we have a lot of these objects in the folder already. So I'll go ahead and drag this rock into the scene. And I am going to add a rigid body, which will give the object access again to Unity's physics engine, so rigid body 2D. I'll set its gravity to 0. I'll have it simulate its mass here, and I will freeze the rotation on the Z. I'll go ahead and add one more script here, and that is a collider. And we'll give it a box collider 2D. And now if we press, I'm going to actually move this a little bit. So I'm going to select the rock and press W and just move it over to the right a little bit. I'll save and then I will play it. You'll see I can push the rock now. So we probably want to turn up the linear drag to like 10 so that it has some drag so it just float off. But if I play this again with 10, you'll see it's just pushing slightly. So that's kind of how the physics essentially work in the 2D space in Unity. So now I'd like to basically save these in what's called a prefab. And a prefab is essentially a copy of a game object that has all of its components on it there already. So for the rock, if I make a prefab here, I'm going to make a folder. So first, so I'm going to go to Assets, right click, Create and Folder, and I'm going to create a prefabs folder. So again, right click, Create and Folder. Double click into this prefabs folder here, and I'm going to start dragging what I want to be prefab. So the rock I want to be a prefab. And so now we've made essentially a copy of it with all these components on here. So I can just drag it back into the scene a couple times, and it's exact duplicate copies of what we just made there. And then for the hero, we can pretty much do the same thing. So we'll just drag it down and make it a prefab. And now it has everything that he kind of originally had. So even the script that we added and the animators, um, his prefab will have that. In addition to that, if you click on the prefab and you click this arrow to the right, this will list all of the objects underneath that prefab. This becomes a lot more pertinent when we're working in 3D because there will be like a lot of different smaller objects that are in a 3D object typically. So we'll go ahead now and do the kind of last piece for this session. So it's kind of a shorter session here. But we're going to go ahead and download Cinemachine. So again, if we go up to Window and then Package Manager, all right, this is how, if you remember what I said, how you download things um, from the store, but also from the Unity registry as well, and whatever is in the project too. So we'll click the Unity registry, and in here, what we want to download, okay, is this package called Cinemachine. And so Cinemachine is a replacement for the traditional camera in the seed. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and start installing it. And the Cinemachine works in the following way. It basically allows you to create virtual cameras, and those virtual cameras will inherit the kind of position rotation of the main camera, and you can use those virtual cameras and transition between them, and it will automatically animate that as well. So we've went ahead and added Cinemachine here to the project. So if we go up here to component, we'll see that Cinemachine is listed in the bottom. And we have all of these options here, which is great. But what we want to go ahead and do is to right click here and scroll down to Cinemachine and create a virtual camera. And so we can go ahead, and I'm just going to reorder this so it's at the top. And then if you click into it, you have a variety of different options that you don't have on the main camera. So the main camera has a few things there. But you'll see that when we downloaded Cinemachine and then created one, it basically created a Cinemachine brain on the main camera, which kind of controls the parts of the main camera. This gives you access to a lot of different things. And we can see on the actual virtual camera that it has a Cinemachine virtual camera attached to it. So one of the fields is follow. So if we go ahead and we drag our hero, okay, into the follow slot, it'll take his position, his transform, and follow him for the remainder of the game. So if we go ahead and press play now, you'll see that the camera moves with him. All right, well, that wraps it up for this session of AVR120, kind of short and sweet. Um, if you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.